A long time ago, there was a king named Michael. After many years, a daughter was born in his palace. He said to his wife, "Today I'm very happy. After 7 generations, a daughter has been born in my family. You'll see, I'll give her every happiness in the world." King Michael named the princess Olivia. He loved her very much. Whatever she touched, the king would immediately get it her for without any second thought. He raised her with great care and luxury. He couldn't tolerate even a small scratch on her. One day the princess was walking by the river when a thorn pricked her foot. When Michael found out, he had rose petals spread across the entire kingdom. Princess Olivia was so delicate that even strong wine should frighten her. One day soldiers brought a man to King Michael's court. The king asked, "Who is he, and why have you brought him here?" The soldiers replied, "He is a spy of our neighbor king, John. He sends all the information about our kingdom to him." The king said, "How dare he, soldiers, cut off his head and send it to King John." After some time, as ordered, the soldiers cut off the spy head and took it to King John. Seeing them, King John asked, "Who are you?" The soldiers replied, "We are King Michael's soldiers. He had sent you a gift." They placed a tray and left. When the king removed the cloth from the tray, he saw the severed head of his spy. Furious, he shouted, "How dare Michael! Soldiers, prepare the army. Today I'll attack his kingdom." Soon John attacked Michael's kingdom. But Michael had already anticipated this. He had prepared a strong army in advance. As soon as John entered Michael's territory, Michael's soldiers attacked. Because of their greater numbers, Michael's army killed all of the John soldiers within hours. Michael said, "What happened, John? All your soldiers are dead. How will you fight now?" Then he brutally killed John. John's minister quickly sent news to his son, Prince Kunal, who was in another kingdom at the time. As soon as Kunal received the news, he rushed back. As he entered this kingdom, he saw his father's severed head hanging at the border, placed there by Michael. Seeing this, the minister ran to him and said, "Prince, look what has happened in your absence." Kunal asked, "Who did this?" The minister replied, "King Michael." The prince said, "Gather all our soldiers immediately. Today we will attack Michael's kingdom." Meanwhile, King Michael was celebrating his victory with a grand party. Feeling secure, he had sent most of his soldiers home, and the remaining ones were drunk. Taking advantage of this, Prince Kunal attacked Michael's kingdom, captured him, and threw him into prison. At that moment, Princess Olivia ran in and said, "Please release my father." The prince asked, "Who is she?" The soldiers replied, "She is Michael's daughter." The prince said, "So, you're his daughter. Your father did terrible things to my father. You'll pay the price. From today, you're no longer a princess. You will live as a servant." That night, when Olivia was going to her room, the prince stopped her and said, "Where are you going?" She replied, "To my room." The prince said, "Perhaps you have forgotten. This is no longer your father's palace. It's mine. And you're no longer a princess, but a servant. You'll stay in the servants' quarters." The room was so small, with no bed, just an old sheet on the floor. Olivia had always slept on soft velvet mattresses, so she couldn't sleep the whole night. After a while, morning arrived. The prince said to the princess, "Listen, there's a lot of dust in the garden. Go, clean it." The princess had never even lifted a glass of water by herself before. As soon as she held the broom in her hands, blisters formed on her palms. The prince said, "What are you looking at? Hurry up, clean." The princess had not even cleaned half of the garden when her hands started bleeding. When the prince saw her condition, he said, "Stop, there's no need to do all this." Then he ordered the maids to treat her once. In his mind, the prince thought, "Am I being too cruel to this girl? No. What her father did to my father, this is nothing compared to that." After some time, night fell. The prince said to the princess, "Tonight you'll guard the garden." It was winter, and at night It felt as if icy hell was falling from the sky. The princess was in terrible condition because of the cold. The prince went to his room to sleep, but he couldn't. He was constantly worried about the princess. Finally, he couldn't hold himself back and went to check on her in garden. There he saw her, the princess, sitting in corners and shivering. On one hand, he felt pity for her, but on the another hand, he was filled with anger over his father's death. Because of his anger and desire for revenge, he left her there, trembling in the cold, and went back. Spending the whole night in the cold made the princess extremely ill. By morning, she somehow tried to make her way back to her room, but the prince stopped her and said, "Wait, the work is not finished yet. Go water the plants." The princess went to the garden to water the plants. While doing so, she suddenly felt dizzy and collapsed on the ground. When the prince saw her, he ran to her and said, "Princess, get up. What happened to you?" He lifted her and carried her to the palace, then called the royal physician. The physician said, "She has a very high fever. I'll give some medicine. Make sure she takes it on time." The prince thought to himself, "What have I done?" In anger and hatred, I became so blind that I lost my humanity. This poor girl wasn't even at fault. After a while, the princess regained consciousness. She saw that, just like before, maids were standing all around her room. The princess said, "You all should leave. If the prince sees you here, he will get very angry." The maids replied, "Princess, the prince himself sent us to take care of you, so that you wouldn't face any trouble." The princess couldn't believe them, so she went to the prince herself. Seeing her, the prince said, "What are you doing here? You're unwell. You should be resting. I had sent the maids. How did they let you come here?" Then the prince called out to the maids. Hearing his voice, they all rushed in and said, "What happened, your highness?" The prince said, "Didn't I tell you to take care of the princess? She's sick. Why did you let her come here?" The maids replied, "We tried to stop her, but she didn't believe that you had sent us to take care of her. That's why she came here to ask you herself." The princess said, "Did you really send them?" The prince replied, "Yeah, you're unwell." The princess said, "But you used to hate me, didn't you?" The prince said, "Look, the royal physician has told you to rest, otherwise your condition will get worse. Maids, take the princess to her room and make sure she doesn't face any kind of trouble." After the princess left, the minister said, "Prince, are not you a little too concerned about the princess? Have you fallen in love with her?" The prince replied, "What are you saying? There's nothing like that." The minister said, "No, I have seen it before too. Even when you were punishing the princess, your heart wasn't agreeing with it. You were in more pain than the princess herself." The prince said, "Are you done now? You may leave." Then the prince went to the court, but again and again he kept thinking about the princess, whether she was okay or not. He had developed feelings for her and spent the whole day thinking only about her. One day the prince's adviser came to him and said, "Prince, it was your father's wish that you marry his friend's daughter. Here is her picture." The prince said, "I'm sorry, but I cannot marry her." The minister asked, "Why, do you like someone else?" The prince replied, "No, but I still cannot marry her." The minister said, "If you don't like anyone else, then what's the problem in marrying her? And anyway, it was your father's wish." The prince said, "Enough, I've already said I cannot marry her." Then the prince left from there. The prince was standing near the window in his room when he saw the princess playing with some children. The princess' innocence had won his heart. The prince said softly, "She's so innocent and beautiful." Just then from behind the minister said, "Isn't she? So it means you really have fallen in love with the princess." The prince said, "What are you doing here?" The minister replied, "I was just passing by and saw you praising the princess, so I thought." The prince said, "Are you done now?" The minister said, "Prince, why don't you just accept that you love the princess?" The prince replied, "There's nothing like that." The minister thought to himself, The prince will never express his feelings. I'll have to do something myself. Then the minister went to the princess in the garden and said, Princess, do you know the prince loves you? The prince from afar said, What if this minister telling the princess? The minister pointed toward the prince and said, Look, he has been watching you from the window for so long. The prince thought, What has the minister said? What will the princess think about me? I need to go round quickly and handle this. Otherwise, who knows what else he might say. Then the prince quickly went to the garden. The minister said, Here comes the prince. You can ask him yourself. For you, he even refused the girl his father had chosen for him. Tell me, prince, why are you silent? The prince said, The minister said, There's no use hesitating. The princess already knows everything. Now just speak your heart. I'll take my leave. Then the minister left. The prince said, The truth is, when I saw my father's severed head, I was consumed with the desire for revenge at that time. I couldn't even understand what was right or wrong. I hated everything related to King Michael. That's why I punished you, even though you had done nothing wrong. But I could never hate you. Even without wanting to, I fell in love with you. I didn't tell you this because I was afraid you might misunderstand me. But now that the truth isn't in front of you, I want to ask, will you marry me? The princess nodded, yes. And then with great celebration, they got married. And with that, this story comes to an end.